I'm 70, and I avoid people now. Let me tell you why. Have you ever woken up and realized that the world around you has changed, but more surprisingly, you have changed too? That's what it felt like when I turned 70. A number, yes. A milestone, sure. But more than anything, it felt like crossing a quiet, invisible line between the life I used to live and the one I now choose to live. Hello, friends. If you're watching this, chances are you're either curious about what aging really feels like, or you're living it yourself. Either way, welcome. Today I want to share something deeply personal, something I never expected would happen to me. I've started avoiding people. Now, don't misunderstand me. I wasn't always like this. I used to be what some would call a people person, always at the center of things. I was the one organizing get-togethers, showing up to every birthday party, volunteering at the local community center, and saying yes to every invitation because I genuinely enjoyed the company. But now I find myself pulling back, not out of sadness, not out of bitterness, but because something shifted. And maybe, just maybe, it's something you've felt too. Time feels different now, more precious, more real. There's something remarkable that happens in your 70s. Time, the thing we once tossed around so carelessly, suddenly becomes sacred. Not in a fearful way, but in a way that makes you pay attention. When I was in my 20s, 30s, even 40s, time felt like an infinite resource. I wasted it on meaningless small talk obligations I didn't care about and conversations that led nowhere. I thought there would always be tomorrow. But at 70, you don't look at tomorrow the same way. Not because it's dark or depressing, but because it's no longer guaranteed. Every morning now feels like a quiet miracle. Every cup of coffee, every walk under the trees, every memory that floats back unexpectedly feels like something to savor, not rush through. And so I stopped filling my calendar just for the sake of it. I stopped going to events that left me feeling drained. I no longer feel bad for choosing solitude over noise. I realized something simple but powerful. It's not about how many people you spend time with. It's about how those moments make you feel. Do they nourish you? Do they feel real, or are they just noise? Relationships evolve, and so do we. As I grew older, I noticed another quiet truth. Relationships don't just change. They transform. Some deepen, others dissolve, and some fade quietly like a song you once loved but can't quite recall the melody of anymore. When I was younger, I tried to hold on to everyone. Friends, colleagues, neighbors, acquaintances. I believed every relationship had to be maintained, that it was my responsibility to keep the threads tied. But here's what I've come to understand. Not every thread is meant to stay knotted forever. People change. Life pulls us in different directions. And sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do for yourself and for others is to let go. Let go of friendships that no longer bring peace. Let go of roles you've outgrown. Let go of conversations that only circle the same old pain. And when you let go, something beautiful happens. The space that's left behind, that becomes room for what truly matters. I've learned to protect my time and my energy. I used to feel guilty for saying no, guilty for not showing up, guilty for choosing rest over routine. But guilt has no place in a life that's finally aligned with what truly matters. Now I ask myself, is this something that will nourish my spirit? If not, I politely decline. And I don't feel bad about it, because time isn't just time anymore, it's life itself. And I've stopped giving it away so freely. Instead, I pour it into my health, my passions, my peace, and the handful of people who see me for who I am, not who they need me to be. There's a deep calm that comes with that choice. It's not about loneliness, it's about intention. Some people hear, I avoid people, and assume that means I'm lonely. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Solitude is not the same as isolation. In fact, some of the most profound joy I've experienced has come in moments of quiet. Listening to an old song while the rain taps on the window, reading a handwritten letter from years ago, watching the sun paint gold across the kitchen table. These aren't loud moments, but they're real. And that's what I crave now, realness, authenticity, connections that don't feel forced. At 70, I've stopped chasing and started savoring. I don't run from event to event, person to person, trying to feel busy enough or useful enough. Instead, I take long walks and notice the color of the sky. I call one friend instead of texting 10. I give my energy to what uplifts me, not what drains me. And in doing so, I found something I never expected: contentment. Not the flashy kind, the quiet kind, the kind that wraps around your shoulders like a warm shawl and says, "This is enough." So yes, I avoid people, but maybe not for the reason you think. I avoid shallow conversations, unkind energy, and people who no longer feel aligned with who I've become. But I welcome connection with those who meet me where I am. I welcome laughter, depth, kindness, and presence. I've simply stopped giving myself away. If you felt this shift too, I want you to know you're not alone. There's nothing wrong with choosing quiet over chaos. There's nothing weak about protecting your peace. Aging isn't about fading away, it's about refining who you are, getting clearer, getting truer. Thank you for listening to this piece of my heart. If this resonated with you, please share it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts or your story. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing. Your support helps me continue sharing real stories like this, ones that speak not just to the mind, but to the soul. Until next time, be gentle with your time, be proud of your journey, and most of all, never feel ashamed for growing into who you were always meant to be. And so after years of learning to protect my peace, I also learned something else. Not every connection lasts, and not every bond was meant to. I have a sibling, someone I once shared childhood secrets and holiday meals with. We laughed under the same roof, fought over silly things, and leaned on each other in ways only siblings do. But today, we haven't spoken in years. It's not because of anger. There was no dramatic falling out or final painful argument. Life simply diverged. Our paths split quietly like two roads that once ran side by side, then curved away in different directions. And that's bittersweet. Because when I look back, I still treasure what we had. Those memories, even though they now live only in the past, are part of me. They shaped me. Not all relationships are meant to last forever, but that doesn't make them any less real. Some people are only with us for a season, and yet those seasons can be some of the most defining moments in our lives. Trust, it gets more complicated with age. When I was younger, I trusted easily. I believed in people's goodness by default. I assumed that if someone smiled at you, they meant well. If they made a promise, they'd keep it. But life as it does taught me otherwise. As the years passed, I encountered situations that shook that simple faith. Friends who slowly revealed different motives. People who used kindness as a mask only to take more than they gave. Trust that was once so easily given suddenly became something I had to guard. And once it's broken, trust doesn't come back easily. At 70, I'm far more cautious about who I let into my life. Not because I'm angry, not because I carry resentment, but because I've learned sometimes painfully that not everyone has earned the right to see your heart. I've been let down by people I never thought would hurt me. There was a friend who I thought truly knew me, but who turned out to care more about what I could offer than who I really was. A business partner whose loyalty dissolved the moment personal gain entered the picture. Even within family, I've experienced distance that left me confused, wondering, what changed? Did I miss something? These moments teach you. They shape how you move through the world. You begin to understand that protecting your emotional well-being isn't cold or selfish, it's wise. So I had a choice to make: close myself off completely or move forward with caution and discernment. I chose the second path, but I'd be lying if I said it was easy. Because when someone new enters my life, my first instinct isn't excitement anymore. It's skepticism. What do they want? Why are they being so kind? What's the angle? That's not a mindset I'm proud of, but it's one I've developed out of necessity. Still, with all I've learned, one truth has become clear. Trust isn't only about others, it's also about trusting yourself. Trusting your gut when something doesn't feel right. Trusting your strength to walk away from people who drain your energy even if they've been in your life for years. Trusting that your peace matters enough to protect even if it means saying no. That kind of trust, it's the hardest to build, but the most powerful to hold. Yet even with all that, something beautiful still happens. Every now and then someone surprises me. A kind stranger who helps me reach for something I dropped in the grocery store. A neighbor who checks on me when the power goes out during a storm. A thoughtful smile from someone who isn't rushing through the day. These small moments, they remind me that trust isn't gone. It's just rarer and more precious when it shows up. Because while I may no longer hand it out freely, I haven't locked the door completely. Instead, I've built something else gates. Not walls, gates, strong enough to keep the wrong energy out, but still open to love, kindness, and connection when it feels right. In the end, trust has become simpler, but more sacred. I no longer try to keep everyone close. Instead, I cherish the few people who've shown me through their actions that they deserve to be trusted. For everyone else, I keep my boundaries clear. I listen to my instincts, and I no longer feel guilty for doing so. I may not trust as quickly as I once did, but the connections I do keep, I hold them closer. I value them more deeply, and I protect them with everything I've learned along the way. At 70, that feels like a gift, one I don't take for granted. Sometimes it's in the quiet that we hear ourselves most clearly. After reflecting on the changing world and how solitude has become a source of peace rather than loneliness, I find myself embracing something deeper, the quiet joy of simply being present. Solitude has allowed me to fade into the background of life's noise and come home to the here and now. It's here in this stillness that I've rediscovered the magic in life's smallest pleasures. I sit by the window with a warm cup of tea, watching sparrows and finches flutter about the feeder as if putting on a show just for me. I feel the morning sun gently touch my face during slow walks and listen to the comforting crackle of a fire on a cold evening. These moments, unremarkable to some, fill me with a peace that no crowded gathering or busy event ever could. There's a kind of sacredness in this simplicity. No distractions, no expectations, just presence. This solitude has also given me a spaciousness to reflect. At this point in life, memories don't just visit, they sit with you. They teach comfort and sometimes even heal. I often revisit moments from my past, not with regret, but with a quiet gratitude. The joy, the sorrow, the stumbles, and the triumphs, they all played a part in shaping me into who I am today. In the calm of my own company, I've found clarity where confusion used to live. I've made peace with chapters that once felt unfinished and forgiven people, even myself, for things I once held tightly. That kind of acceptance doesn't happen in chaos. It happens in the hush. But make no mistake, choosing solitude doesn't mean cutting the world off. I still cherish watching my grandchildren's faces light up when they burst through the door, catching up with dear old friends, or lending my time to causes that still stir something in me. The difference now is these moments feel richer, fuller, because they're chosen, not obligated. I no longer say yes to every invitation. I no longer maintain relationships that deplete me. Instead, I hold space for what truly nourishes me and let go of what doesn't. This new way of living has made me more present in the relationships that remain. When I'm with someone, I'm fully there. No checking the clock, no feeling torn in 100 directions, just pure shared time. And that kind of presence, it's rare, it's precious. Solitude has also taught me something no crowd ever could: how to love myself, deeply, quietly, unapologetically. I've realized that my worth isn't measured by how many people I please, how full my calendar is, or how much noise surrounds me. It's in the still moments, in the unspoken peace of being alone, that I feel most whole. At 70, I understand now solitude isn't a void. It's a sanctuary. It's not something to escape from. It's something to protect. It's a quiet decision to step away from the whirlwind, to guard your inner peace, and to focus on the things that actually matter. And in that choice, I found a kind of happiness I never imagined possible. One that doesn't need an audience or applause. Just space, just breath, just presence. Why I avoid people now, and why that's okay. It might sound harsh at first, avoiding people, but the truth is far softer. At this stage in my life, avoiding people isn't about resentment or bitterness. It's about peace. After decades of giving, supporting, showing up, and yes, hurting, I've come to realize something vital. Not every relationship is meant to last. Not every connection deserves to be held onto. And that truth, it's both liberating and quietly sad, but mostly it's necessary. For most of my life, I was the kind of person who gave freely. My time, my energy, my heart. I wanted to be dependable, helpful, liked. I thrived on being the person others could count on, the steady rock in the storm. And for a long time, that gave me a sense of purpose. But life, with its unflinching honesty, has a way of teaching you what your boundaries should be, whether you're ready to learn or not. I've been let down by people I trusted. I've been wounded by those I loved. I stayed in relationships far too long, hoping that love or loyalty could fix what was broken. I saw red flags and closed my eyes, choosing hope over truth. I said yes when I wanted to say no. I stayed when I should have walked away. Now at 70, I see things with clearer eyes. Avoiding people doesn't mean I've given up on humanity. It means I've learned to honor my well-being. I no longer feel obligated to keep relationships alive that only take, never give. I no longer engage in situations that leave me emotionally spent. I've exchanged the noise of social obligations for the quiet hum of contentment, and in that silence I found peace. I avoid people who thrive on drama, who pull others into their chaos and call it closeness. I avoid those who never ask how I'm doing, or worse, ask but never listen. I step back from people who treat kindness as a given, as though it flows endlessly without cost. And most of all, I avoid anything or anyone who makes me feel like I'm not enough. But don't mistake this for isolation. The truth is, I cherish the few relationships that remain, the friends and family who've stood the test of time. The ones who show up not because they need something, but simply because they care. Those connections, they are gold to me, and I give them everything I have left to give. I just don't feel the need to cast a wide net anymore. A smaller, deeper circle is more than enough. In some ways, stepping back from people has helped me appreciate them more. When I do spend time with someone, it's because I want to, not because I have to. And that makes every conversation richer, every shared moment more meaningful, because they're chosen, not forced. And so after learning to say no, to guard our peace, and to honor the space we've carved for ourselves, what comes next? We arrive at this new chapter, a season not of endings, but of quiet, meaningful beginnings. Embracing this chapter at 70, I've come to see life not as a collection of farewells, but as an ever-unfolding journey. Each stage brings its own color, its own rhythm, and this one right now is no different. In fact, it feels like a culmination, a soft landing, a chance to finally be who I've always been becoming. This chapter is quieter, simpler, but far from empty. If anything, it's more vivid than ever. There's a calm clarity in it, a depth of reflection I never had when life moved too fast. Now I wake up with a sense of peace, with fewer distractions and more time to notice the beauty in small, everyday things. When you're young, life often feels like a race. There's pressure to achieve, to gather accomplishments, to reach the next milestone. You're constantly striving, believing that happiness lies just around the next corner. But now that urgency has softened, that restless energy has faded. I no longer chase what's far ahead. I appreciate what's right here, right now. And what a gift that is. This stage isn't about giving up ambition, it's about redirecting it. Instead of climbing, I'm grounding. Instead of reaching, I'm receiving. I've traded in the long to-do list for meaningful pauses. A quiet morning with a warm cup of tea, the sound of birds outside my window, a gentle hug from a grandchild. These are not just moments, they're anchors. They remind me of what truly matters. Reflection comes easily now. I often look back not with regret, but with gratitude. Life has been a patchwork of joys, struggles, triumphs, and mistakes. There were seasons when I felt unstoppable, and others were when I questioned everything. But every experience, no matter how painful or fleeting, stitched together the fabric of who I am today. Yet this isn't just a time for reminiscing. There's still so much ahead. Yes, even now, there's excitement in knowing I still have space to grow, to create, and to evolve. Whether I'm trying a new recipe, tending to my garden, or simply sitting quietly with my thoughts, there's still room for wonder. One of the most freeing truths I've come to understand is this: no, I no longer have to prove anything. Not to anyone. I've laid down the weight of expectations, those the world placed on me, and those I placed on myself. I've stopped chasing someone else's definition of success. These days, simply being feels like enough. There's tremendous strength in choosing your own pace, in saying no when something doesn't nourish you, in walking away from relationships that no longer feel kind, in declining invitations that cost more energy than they bring. These aren't selfish choices, they're self-honoring ones. And they've made space for what really counts: peace, love, presence, connection. Growing older comes with a kind of courage, the courage to live truthfully, authentically, unapologetically. I no longer hide parts of myself to fit into someone else's comfort zone. I speak my truth even if my voice shakes. I rest without guilt. I love without fear. And perhaps most importantly, I trust myself. This chapter, above all, is about gratitude. Gratitude for the people who've loved me and stayed, for the storms I've weathered, for the laughs, the tears, the lessons, and the second chances, for the wrinkles earned through years of smiling and frowning, for the breath in my lungs and the hope in my heart, for the simple, glorious fact that I'm still here. So what does it really mean to embrace this chapter? It means letting go of what was without needing to erase it. It means holding today gently but firmly, like something precious. It means welcoming tomorrow with an open heart, even if it looks different than you imagine. It means finding beauty in the smallest details, a sunrise, a familiar song, a kind word from a stranger. It means surrounding yourself with people who matter and releasing the rest without bitterness. It's not always easy. There are still quiet moments of sadness, of missing the people I've lost, of remembering the homes I once knew, the voices that are no longer here. But even in those moments, I find strength, a soft, steady reminder I've made it this far, and I am still becoming. At this stage, I've discovered that life is not about the grand achievements, it's about the string of meaningful, honest moments that quietly shape our days. This chapter may not be loud or flashy, but it is real, and it is mine. This part of the journey unexpectedly feels like the most genuine, most peaceful, and most fulfilling yet. To embrace it is not to surrender to age or limitation. It is to rise into a deeper awareness, to stand in your truth, to live not faster, but fuller. One breath, one choice, one day at a time. Closing thoughts. At 70, I no longer measure life by how busy I am or how much I've done. I measure it by the depth of my peace, by the warmth of the memories I hold, by the quality of the relationships I keep close. I've found joy in simplicity, strength in solitude, and freedom in choosing what truly matters. If you're walking a similar path, please know this: it's not only okay but necessary to live in a way that honors your soul. Whether that means saying no more often, seeking silence, or redefining what happiness looks like for you. This chapter belongs to you, and you get to shape it however you wish. So here's to living with intention, to savoring the quiet, to finding beauty in the ordinary, and to walking forward softly, bravely, and completely on your own terms. Thank you for being part of this journey. These reflections are shared with the hope that they inspire you to live more fully, more authentically, and more freely. And now I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one lesson you've learned that you're choosing to apply in your own life. Let's support each other in this chapter, where truth, peace, and presence guide the way. If this video spoke to you, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to leave 0. Your voice matters to us. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartfelt reflections like this. Here's to living life not by the rules of the past, but by the wisdom we've earned, one beautiful moment at a time.